Hi everyone, thank you for coming and thank you for watching online. So today we're going to talk about how to slow down the aging process. So aging is a natural process that our body goes through, but we could speed it up by stress, decreased sleep, and a lot of free radicals, a lot of toxins, low antioxidants, or we could slow it down, which I'm going to focus on slowing down because it's such a broad topic. So they done a study in Hawaii. They look at people older than 90. They were living a healthy lifestyle. They were exercising, doing a lot of things. They wanted to see what did these people had in common living over 90 and being so healthy, not on any medication or taking any drugs. So one of the key things they had in common was they had a FOXO gene, copy of that, which is genetic. So one copy of that increases your chance of living to 100 by twofold. And if you have two copies of that, increases by threefold. And our population, general population, 25% of us has one copy of it. And only two copy of it is only 10%. So if you want to find out, okay, do I have that FOX gene, FOX3 gene? Hello. You could do a genetic testing, 23andMe or other genetic testing out there. So that one we cannot modify or change. But then we could also, there is a gene called SIRT3. We have different kind of SIRT gene, but SIRT3 specifically, which you could modify with lifestyle, you could activate that and slow down the aging process. One is exercising. When you do exercise, you activate this gene. And exercise also causes vasodilation, and it also has an acute response, and that will also help. But too much exercise produces too much free radicals, and that's not good. So a lot of people do these marathon runs or all these extensive exercises, which we do see them having cancers because so much free radical is produced in their body, even though body has a protective mechanism against that, but not that much, not that long. So sometimes it's important to measure your antioxidant if you're doing marathon or all that. Make sure you don't have too much free radicals. And another calorie restriction they talked about, or intermittent fasting, or fasting, which I do. In the morning when I wake up, I take my supplement, I do my green juice and water, I'm sorry, no green juice, green tea and water, and until 12 o'clock I don't eat. My patients know that my stomach growling all morning. So that also activates the SIRT3 gene. Or calorie restriction just by eating 650 calories a day, or they say 20 to 40% of your calorie. Like let's say if you consume already low calorie every day, 800, then you want to do 20% of that. And you don't have to do it every day. You could do it a few times a week. Myself, I tend to do it Monday through Friday. And then also they talked about metformin. I'm not that keen on medication, but I wanted to bring that up. That doesn't necessarily have to do anything with activation of SIRT3, but what metformin does, that's one of the anti-aging medication because it doesn't allow the sugar to be absorbed. So a lot of my patients are on metformin, even with hemoglobin of 5.6. I put them on it because of a lot of patients are cancer patients too. You don't want to have high sugar, which activates the insulin. So I put them on that. So supplements that activates your SIRT3, one of them is Resveratrol. So that was a study, a village in France. There was a lot of older population in that village, and they wanted to know what was the secret. And they literally had a bottle of red wine every day. I don't necessarily recommend that. That would be good. But that's how much wine they would drink, and they were happy. And I mean, having purpose in life and being happy, that's very important. Decreasing stress is very very important. So I think they had a pretty free stress life. And the wine, our grapes, they have resveratrol in them, red wine, not white wine. The difference between red wine and white wine is red wine, you have the skin. It's not necessarily only the grapes like Chardonnay. It is a white grapes compared to Cab and Merlot, the red, but it's also, they take the skin off of the grape. So red is with skin, and that's where all the tanning, antioxidant, resveratrol nutrients is. And other supplement like green tea, EGCG extract is excellent to activate SIRT3 gene. Because the reason SIRT3 gene is important, when you activate it, it works in your body. Let's say if you're doing a lot of damage to your cell, you're producing a lot of free radical, it activates the protective protein or gene to get rid of all the free radicals. And also it has other mechanisms like Krebs cycle. It activates Krebs cycle to produce ATP energy, which is important. Makes your body an aerobic state. And other supplements like PQQ, which is an important supplement for mitochondria, and resveratrol we talked about, and EGCG. Okay, next I'm going to talk about mitochondria. Mitochondria, most of my patients know what mitochondria is because on every visit I do talk about it. Mitochondria, we have about 200 to 300 in our regular cells. You have 1,000 of them in your heart cells, cardiac cells, in your brains. You have more as well. And what the purpose of mitochondria is to produce ATP and energy. And as we see, a lot of our cancer patients, they have dysfunction in their mitochondria. Their body becomes an anaerobic state. And even chronic diseases like Alzheimer, Parkinson, which affects different part of mitochondria in the brain. If I have Alzheimer, it will be the mitochondria in the brain that will be defected, in the brain cell, neurons. So the purpose of mitochondria is to produce ATP, energy, keep your cell at aerobic state. But what happens when your body is overloaded with toxins, when we're constantly exposed to free radicals? This all damages the mitochondria. And nutritional deficiency. There was a study out there actually said 90% of population have at least one or more nutritional deficiency, vitamins or mineral or one of these. Which a lot of my patients, I do nutritional eval or SpectraCell, will find out what their levels are, or also antioxidant levels, toxic levels. So that's why mitochondria is important. And another way, exercise helps you with the mitochondria too, to keep them healthy. And number 3 is inflammation. It affects the aging process. So why is that? So you want too much inflammation. That's why when you Google and research anti-aging, you find a lot of vegan diet, whole food-based diet. I would only recommend to people that who are having high inflammation. And then I put them on a vegan diet, no animal product. If the inflammation goes down, then that's it works for them. But I'm not a candidate. I love myself. I love red meat, lamb. I'm not going to tell my patient become vegan unless they're inflamed. Then I temporarily say consume less meat for a short time till we bring the inflammation down, keep everything controlled, then we put you back on. Because I feel like if some people, if you get the meat out of your diet, it can cause B12 deficiency, low iron. In some people, it can cause depression. So I don't think vegan diet is for everyone, but if I have a patient with colon cancer or prostate cancer or breast, I say, you know what, it's better to be on a kind of a vegan diet or more like a fish, not red meat. And omega-3s are very important for their anti-inflammatory, like whitefish or hemp oil has high omega-3. And then willow bark is a bark of a tree. It's a great anti-inflammatory bark, and also it works like aspirin. And curcumin, as a lot of you guys know, turmeric, it's great. Curcumin, the difference between curcumin and turmeric is a lot of people get confused. Turmeric is like a spice. Curcumin is it's a part of that spice. There is other vegetables that have curcumin in them. So it's not only turmeric that has curcumin, but I believe that the whole turmeric plant is good for you. When you make food, you get the root and use it in your diet, in your food, in your cooking. And also, to make the turmeric or curcumin active, they say, oh, you need black pepper extract or olive oil or coconut oil. It's good to use it with it. And then again, exercise, as I said, it causes vasodilation, it brings the inflammation down, and we talked about plant-based diet. So number 4 point is hormones. You want to keep your hormones optimal. And thyroid is one of the major hormones, is a battery of your body. It has to do with your body temperature. A lot of people have normal thyroid numbers, but the body temperature is very low, and they still have symptoms of hypothyroidism. So what I do tell them, have them do their functional body temperature, and if it's low, if I fix the progesterone and adrenal, because their gut plays a key role as well. 30% of the thyroid is activated in your gut. Progesterone deficiency leads to thyroid problem, and also iodine deficiency leads to thyroid problem. So, and adrenal. So after fixing all those, if they still have thyroid issue, I do give them a nature thyroid supplement, because that was a study done. They got 2 groups of low thyroid functioning thyroid patient. One of them, they supplemented with medication or supplement, natural form desiccated thyroid. The other group, they didn't. The group that they didn't had 75% increased risk of cancer. So that shows you how big a hormone that is. So it also plays a key role in the immune system and also anti-aging. So does adrenal, is the key. Adrenal has to do with longevity and stress, and when we are constantly in stress, our adrenal gland does get suppressed. And human growth hormone is good too. And to measure your IGF-1, or you have to measure your human growth hormone. The best way is IGF-1, and then that you have to make sure rule out cancer, because if we have cancer and we do human growth hormone injections, that could speed up the process. And then testosterone is very important, because for the muscle and for general health and well-being, and so is estrogen is important. But again, I see a lot of patients coming in, they're like, oh, Dr. Bita, I want to buy identical hormone, I want to start on estrogen, I have these symptoms. But again, estrogen does promote a lot of cancer. It's not just breast, and even prostate, I feel like it's linked to high estrogen, not necessarily testosterone. A lot of my prostate cancer have elevated estrogen. But also, other cancer now are linked to estrogen because it promotes growth. So what we do is I make sure they do breast thermography. Mammogram, I'm not happy by itself. I do mammogram, but I make sure they do thermography and breast ultrasound. And then mammogram next year if they want to do hormones. So, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is going to be about superfoods and antioxidants. So what foods? Pomegranate has high ellagic acid, which is number 1. And then raspberry is excellent. I forgot to put it next to pomegranate. But I feel like pomegranate and raspberry are the top food. And pomegranate doesn't spike your sugar. So a lot of patients have elevated sugar. They're like, Dr. Bita, I don't consume any carbs, no bread, nothing. But then next thing you know, they have like 4 or 5 servings of fruit every day. Fruit also spikes your sugar. So what you want to do is make sure you don't spike it too much. Sometimes I tell them when you put it in your smoothie, if you put a fat like coconut oil or olive oil in it or avocado, it doesn't allow the sugar to get spiked. And blueberries. And pistachio is excellent nuts because also it helps with the pyruvate and helps with keeping patient on not spiking their insulin. And Greek yogurt is good. It has a good probiotic, and that's one of the things that one of the studies that a lot of guys had in common. They were on kind of like a ketogenic diet. They were having a lot of bacons and yogurt and low carbs, but a lot of kind of like more like fish and diet, and they live longer too. But then if you look, there are studies that plant-based diet you could live long too. But I think it has to do with FOXO-gene as well, and stress, everything. Having a positive attitude in life, waking up happy, having purpose in life. These all play a key role. And spinach, green leafy vegetable in general, is excellent for anti-aging, antioxidant. Dark chocolate, which myself consume a square every day. Make sure it doesn't have high sugar in it, less than 10 grams. And watermelon has good antioxidant too, and green tea. So it was short and sweet. So any questions?
Can you talk a little bit about inflammation? Because, you know, I hear it all the time and I see everything. And I understand, like, you know, if you hurt yourself, you get inflamed, whatever. But I don't really understand the internal inflammation that you talk about.
Okay, sure. So inflammation, which could be measured with your CRP marker or ESR, which I do on most of everyone.
What's that blood test?
CRP is a blood test that you could do. And if that's elevated, first thing I do is that means some inflammation is going on. Some people come in and say, oh, Dr. Bita, I have inflammation everywhere, my joint is hurting, but then the CRP is not elevated. That inflammation tends to be due to food allergies or something going on with their gut. So I get them off of gluten and dairy, sometimes that inflammation, joint pain and all that is gone, or food allergy testing, to find out, okay, what kind of food allergy you have, and you eliminate it, and that helps. But then you could get sick, for example, viral infection or something which can elevate your CRP, but that get normalized. But like in chronic diseases like cancer, I see patients before their diagnosis, they say, oh, I've been having low inflammation for many years, or also low white blood cell, but then the doctors couldn't figure out, do the right workup to find out, okay, something is cooking in their body. But first thing what I do if someone have inflammation, I say, you know, look for food allergies and get them off of that. And then inflammation that is high, 17, 18, very high, that means something just occurred, you hit yourself, or it's something acute. But most chronic inflammation, you see slow elevation of CRP from 1 to 1.5, 2. But the sad part is now labs are changing the inflammation range because people are getting more obese and inflamed, and the CRP now normal for the lab is greater than 3, which is wrong. It should be less than 1. But the numbers are changed now. So, but my goal on my patient is to keep it less than 1, and if I see mildly going up, either food allergies or something with the gut, or I rule out chronic disease like cancer.
So you're saying it is joint pain, inflammation?
Some people, no, some people you could have joint pain, it could be, but it doesn't necessarily elevate the inflammation in the markers. But yeah, joint pain can cause inflammation, stiffness, swelling.
Well, the inflammation doesn't cause joint pain? It's the other way? I don't understand.
Inflammation doesn't cause.
Yeah.
So, no, if you have elevated CRP, doesn't mean necessarily you have a joint pain or any symptoms. Yeah, a lot of people have elevated kind of between 2 to 3 CRP, and they don't have any symptom at all. Yeah.
You keep saying CRP, you mean C-reactive protein?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I have a question or
Yes.
statement. Would you agree that a lot of inflammation is enhanced by an acidic body state versus a neutral to alkaline body state?
True.
So if you agree with that, would you also agree that the old phrase, the devil is in the details, and that when you talked about in the beginning getting people off meat because that may be causing inflammation, would you agree that a lot of meat has been altered in that it has been factory farmed, for instance, cows with corn, when they're really supposed to be on grass? And when you do grass-fed beef, that beef is not acidic like the other things.
Yeah, do you know why? Because it has omega-3.
Right.
When you do grass-fed beef, it's omega-3 is high, and what is omega-3? Anti-inflammatory.
Exactly.
But when you feed the corn to the
Being
cows,
right.
then the omegas is omega-6s, and that's the problem. It's true. And also, meat is acidic. Acidic, as you said.
Well,
It could be acidic to too much. Yeah, go ahead.
well, when you say meat is acidic, you're assuming you're cooking the meat with heat, right?
Correct.
Because it's a lot less acidic when it's not cooked, and that's a whole subject
Like
on
meaning
itself.
eating it raw.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just like steak tartare.
Yeah,
And
or
things
raw
that they-
liver. I tell some
yeah.
patients to eat it. Yeah,
Right.
for the
So people who may not want to fully give something up may want to alter where they get their source from and how they
exactly.
prepare it. So
Yeah,
you would agree
that's
with
true.
that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. But also, decrease not having red meat every day necessarily, because as you said, they add growth hormone, all this antibiotic to the animal, which
If
all
it's
this
factory
goes to us and it affects our body. So, any other questions? John?
Should we go get a hamburger?
So which brand of green tea